Morning, Fractal Effects team. Before we get started, please make sure you read the disclosure. If you're following along with us today, make sure you're doing a demo account, as this is for educational purposes only. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. Since we're still tracking the market from the early setup, the early morning setup, we'll jump on immediately. So obviously, because of non-farm payroll week, we're just looking at oil today. But we got a nice setup. We have a double break to the upside, about 5 minutes away from our range formation. Move up to the 5M here. So this was our break, pullback, double break. There's our NYC fair value gap. Here's our DSD high. Now what happens after we get a double break? We want to see the market pull back. But instead what it did was it pushed up and then it gave us our New York fair value gap. So the market actually might not drop past this. This is one of our key areas. It just has to pull back into one of our key areas. It is consolidating, and usually power of 3, when it's consolidating, it wants to first manipulate and sweep. So it could sweep out these lows, which is right at the midpoint of the DSD high and the NYC fair value gap. So could sweep out these and then push up. I'm waiting for a 5M bullish fair value gap. One was created here, but we did not get one here on Brent crude oil. And then the market just filled it in, and now we're gesticulating below it right now. So I'm going to consider this one violated. I still want to see what happens next. Let's see if we get our confirmation first. But right now I am bullish, even though on the higher time frame and even previous days candle closed bearish. I want to hit this 4-hour fair value gap. That's our target. Not too much room there, so we got to get a good setup. That's why I like it from down here better. So I'm hoping it drops right to the consequence encroachment of that 4-hour. Stop loss, hopefully down here. That's a big one. Let's track it. Let's see what happens if we get in here. Where's the lowest point where we can get our 1 to 3? Right around here. A lot of consolidation. So we hit the purple zone, the 50 EMA on the 1M. Left a 1M fair value gap. Looks like it tapped that one. Yeah. Looks like it might just be using this 1M fair value gap. Now that we're back above here, this one becomes our area of interest. Not really a fan of this setup. I'd rather wait for confirmation now, because that 5M was violated. And again, as far as divergence, there wasn't a 5M left here. Now, during power of 3, it's called power of 3 because there is a manipulation move, but not all consolidation has to manipulate. Sometimes consolidation can just continue. Today is also Thursday, and our Thursday weekly range, our weekly range that Thursday draws back to is also above us, right up here, past the 4-hour. But as mentioned before, we just aim for the low-hanging fruit, which is that 4-hour fair value gap. Now here's a new 5M fair value gap forming on both. I like the setup of that better. Let's see if it stays open. 4 minutes, 35 seconds. It might just close up. I'd like to see this stay open and then get that bullish confirmation. Use this fair value gap right into here. So our range is fully formed now. So it just took out that 5M fair value gap. But it's working its way back down into this 1M fair value gap. When you're watching two diverging pairs here, it's good to just leave one on a higher time frame just so you can see what's happening. Yeah, I don't like the fact that there is no 5M fair value gap that was created here. And even here it was violated. So I'd rather wait for that confirmation just to solidify the deal. So without that 5M, there's no foothold. The only other foothold for Brent crude oil is actually down here with this fair value gap, the NYC midpoint. And you got your purple zone and your blue zone. A lot of consequence encroachments here, including your end dog, but nothing in here other than its inverse volume imbalance. I don't like to use. Obviously, we're avoiding any US related assets today because of non-farm payroll. That's tomorrow. those are the days you want to just take off. When it lands on a Friday, a trap Friday, and a non-farm payroll, you should not be out there. That's like being in the woods hunting without a gun, a knife, in a forest full of bears. Again, I'm still not comfortable with the fact that there was no 5M fair value gap created here. Even when you're diverging, you want to at least see a foothold. It's hard to say, this one gave you a foothold, this one didn't. But keep in mind, this actually violated the foothold too, the fair value gap. And I'm not comfortable just basing everything off of a 1M fair value gap. I laid this one out just so we could track it, but still waiting for that retracement. I don't like that much consolidation without at least a pullback. We could get that confirmation and then a pullback. Remember, 80% chance that the market's going to do a retracement back into our dealing range or even deeper after we get a confirmation. One minute, 40 seconds left. Let's see if this confirmation sticks. So we have not tapped the 20 yet. We could actually just get a deep retracement right after this confirmation. And as mentioned before, there is no 5M fair value gap here. This is the closest one. So even if we get confirmation and it's had no early retracement, I must foresee a deep retracement here into this area first before going back up. With 25 seconds left. So if we get a confirmation here on US oil, but not one on Brent, and again, there's no 5M fair value gap, this could start the retracement before giving us that. Let's see. There you go, there's your confirmation. There, this could be our fair value gap. When was the last time we touched that 20? So we have not touched that 20 since the crossover. And as mentioned before, there is currently, this is the first 5M fair value gap forming, but if it doesn't stick on Brent crude, and we have no confirmation on Brent crude, this could be a pullback all the way down here. Let's see. Divergence or not, both of these should have a 5M fair value gap as a foothold. Could be at different points, but that's our rule. This could become it if it leaves it open. 2 minutes, 10 seconds left. So we might not get a deeper retracement all the way down to the 20 EMA. If this confirmation sticks and this fair value gap stays open, we could just use this. One minute, 10 seconds left. So Brent crude closed off that 5M fair value gap again. So still no foothold here. And yet US oil left it open. Interesting. Now let's see how it does with this. Still no confirmation on Brent crude. In the past, anytime I've seen this, where there is a confirmation on one asset and not the other, regardless of 5M fair value gaps, usually you do get a deeper retracement back to the 20. Which is what I'd like to see. For US oil, there's our weekly range up here, which I believe is also previous days. What is that? Is that previous days high or low? Here's previous days low. Previous days high. One minute, 24 seconds left. Let's see if it violates or respects this. So we're pushing past it. Close below it now. This is kind of the pattern that I wanted to see originally. Now if this bearish 5M fair value gap sticks, that's a good sign that we're going to get that deep retracement to hopefully sweep this out. And then get a proper 5M fair value gap up. Well, my bias hasn't changed. I just want to see it come back and give us that setup that we like. Okay, this is good. I'm going to jump back up to the 5M here. Remember, this was a 1M fair value gap, so I'm ignoring this. So all the way back at that previous inverse fair value gap. So if this stays open, then I want to see it come, at least tap this 20 and then give us a proper 5M fair value gap. Pretty much what we were waiting for originally. Seconds. Beautiful. Now let's see if it actually comes down lower and sweeps out these lows and taps the midpoint, or if it just wants to start going up after this. All I need now is a 5M fair value gap. Proper one. About 4 minutes away from 11. Looks like it wants to push down even further. Let's see. We're actually in a comfortable position here. The lower it drops, the better that setup to take it all the way to the 4-hour fair value gap. I like that 4-hour fair value gap as that low-hanging fruit. We're 1 minute away from 11 o'clock. When the market's this bearish, when you got like the daily, the 4-hour, the 1-hour, aim for those low-hanging fruits. Today being Thursday, Thursday likes to come back up into the weekly range, which is that aqua line, but that's far up there. I'm not saying that I can't do that, but this is where I feel comfortable. So the lower we go, I'd like to sweep this out actually, and then get that 5M fair value gap from here. That's more than enough. This is how we figured it. We want our entry to be somewhere around here. Very close to sweeping out those lows. And as mentioned before, there's our midpoint of our DSD, purple zone, and our NYC fair value gap. And we've already hit the 20 EMA. So we're already in that area where we could start getting that push up. Now we want to see a 5M fair value gap be created. This is why it's so prevalent to stick to your rules. Still just bouncing here at the bottom. Still no 5M fair value gap, no foothold. About 25 minutes left in our stream. So usually people who get caught up in the power of 3 and only use that as their strategy, they would have seen this as consolidation, that as manipulation, and they would have seen this as distribution. They would have taken this possibly short, hoping to get down to these lows. But as mentioned before, we're not interested in that. We have a bullish confirmation here. We have a double break to the upside. And that's our target, that 4-hour fair value gap. We just need a foothold. And we need it in our entry window in the next 23 minutes. So we have not swept out any of these lows here. Looks like it wants to push down even further. And as mentioned before, I like to see it take out this low. I like to see it take out this low and then start forming a 5M fair value gap from there. There you go, taking out these lows. We're back at the end dog here. 20 minutes left. Let's see if it gives us that 5M fair value gap. So just getting a bounce here. Let's see if it actually sticks. We want to drive through this. Create a 5M fair value gap and use this as an inverse. Hopefully this doesn't keep dropping and then give us a late push after our window is closed. Looks like this could be giving us our beginning of our 5M fair value gap. So we just wicked off that inverse. could just hold the market up here. So about 13 minutes left. Very, very, very slow moving here now. You might want to push it down further. I'd like to see it stay inside this fair value gap. Bottom of our range is down here. There's our end dog, new day opening gap. As mentioned before, I'm not interested in selling this session. So either we get a 5M fair value gap, which would take pretty much 15 minutes to form. And we don't really have 15 minutes, so we'll watch it at least for the next 10 minutes, see what we get. Just consolidating now. About 8 minutes left. This could be the beginning of our push. It's coming a little late. 6 minutes left. That's why it's best to just take these last 2 days off, Thursday, Friday, even Wednesday, to be completely honest with you. So this is a good area to bounce off of, as mentioned before, right at the midpoint of all those converging points, the DSD, NYC fair value gap, and this is why you need these indicators to see where these are. Because I can get rid of all this. The 4-hour fair value gap's all you really need to know exactly what your target is, at least. But other than that, the indicators paint everything out for you. You suddenly turn this off, and you're looking at nothing. You don't know where any of these points are. So 4 minutes left in our stream. We are on the other side of that inverse fair value gap now, but still no 5M fair value gap created. That is a good sign that this thing does want to push up, though. Remember, this was the only 5M fair value gap that was created during this entire session. 5M bullish fair value gap, I should say. So we are on the other side of that, but I want to see a bullish fair value gap created now. That'll let me know that this thing actually wants to push up, with targets being obviously that 4-hour fair value gap. But a little late in the game, a lot more consolidation looks like, because they're engineering new liquidity. There are people that are hoping to go long here. They're placing their orders right here at the bottom now that we swept out these lows and we're right at that NYC fair value gap. And there are people going short here that saw the PO3, power of 3, consolidation, manipulation, and they think this is their distribution. They've entered here, with their stop losses just probably up here. Still a whole bunch of nothing. So this will be our last candle. We'll conclude our session here. Make sure you come back, take a look, or at least do your homework and make sure that all the rules were met before taking any entries this last week, if you took any. And come back and take a look at this one. Now remember, everything told us this thing was going to push up. Double break to the upside. We got a bullish confirmation. We've swept out the lows. We're sitting at the NYC fair value gap above the DSD high with this 4-hour fair value gap as our target and our weekly range above us. So, but come back, check it out. If the market doesn't push within that window, that's just your signal to step away. Remember, day trading isn't everyday trading. Doesn't mean it's not going to push, just could take forever. It could actually drop back down here. But the next step, the next inevitable step was a 5M fair value gap, a bullish fair value gap created and tapped, and then a 1M fair value gap created and tapped. Remember, create a fair value gap, hit a fair value gap, create a fair value gap. That's the rule. So come back later, see if that actually happens after this window closed. Could happen much, much later in the day, but that's not what this strategy is about. This is not about sitting there and watching the markets for 4 or 5 hours. We want to find a high probability trade setup 1 hour after the range formation. If it's not there, it's not there. We move on. But please check us out on fractaleffects.com, where we teach high probability trading. Please hit your hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you know when we're live. And we will see you guys next week. Take care.